Good afternoon. How is everybody? No, I don't think it's running. Good afternoon. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another afternoon with the Rocky Mountain Raptor program. So glad to have you all here. So excited to be back again to share more about the wonderful world of raptors with all of you. My name is Jessica Miller. I'm the Education Coordinator with the Rocky Mountain Raptor Program. And joining me today is one of our ambassador raptors. This is your friendly neighborhood backyard raptor. This is a red-tailed hawk. And today we're going to learn a little bit about some of the amazing things about red-tailed hawks. They are an extremely common species of raptor, but you know, just because something's common doesn't mean it's ordinary. And I think red-tailed hawks are really quite far from ordinary. And so we'll get a chance to talk a little bit about those and learn some more really cool stuff about red-tailed hawks that you probably might have right in your own neighborhoods. Now, the Rocky Mountain Raptor Program is a nonprofit in Fort Collins, Colorado that works to rescue and rehabilitate injured raptors, as well as providing education about raptors and all their spaces and habitats with the various communities around northern Colorado and really around the world. And we have been operating for more than 30 years, so we've had a chance to learn and enjoy a lot about great raptors, and it's exciting to get to share some of that with all of you. Now, this red-tailed hawk that's here with me today, as I said, she is one of our ambassador raptors, and that means that she is permanently disabled, unable to go out and live in the wild on her own. You would never see a patient, a bird we're working to release to the wild, standing on the glove like this, because this takes a lot of training and building a relationship with an individual. And really, we want our patients to stay very wild. So we would never do anything like this with a patient. All of the birds you're going to see on any of our live streams will always be permanently disabled, non-releasable in some way. And you get a lot of great variety of different birds to meet when you come and see different streams. So follow the Rocky Mountain Raptor Program on Facebook, like our page, follow us, and you'll get notifications as to when we're going to be live with all of the different raptors and ambassadors for you to get to meet and learn about. Now, this red-tailed hawk, she came into our program in 2003. She was an adult bird, so we don't actually know how old she is. Because once a raptor reaches adulthood, they're going to have exactly the same plumage every year after that. They're going to look the same for the rest of their lives. And that will be different than their juvenile. They are not yet ready to mate plumage. So we can tell if a bird is a juvenile or if it's an adult. And in this case, this red-tailed hawk was an adult. So while we don't know exactly how old she is, we do know she is at least 19. And I'll tell you how we know that specific number in just a moment. Now, red-tailed hawks get their name from the gorgeous brick red colored tails they have here. Just going to show it to you. And those beautiful wings. Red-tailed hawks are amazing dancers. Red-tailed hawks have some fascinating, fun little facts and tricks to survival that I'll kind of share with you as we go through today. So, brick red colored tail, obviously that's where they get their name from, red-tailed hawk. It's a type of a raptor, so a predatory carnivorous bird of prey. And red-tailed hawks, like all raptors, have incredibly strong feet armed with needle-sharp talons. I have some feet here I'm going to bring in to show you. These are actually from an eagle, a golden eagle, but look at those talons there. Long, sharp, dangerous, of course, hence the big leather glove I'm wearing. But this is the primary weapon of a raptor. This is what they use to do their hunting with. They also have a hooked, curved beak to rip and tear at food. She has not actually eaten yet today, so I'm going to go ahead and give her some of her meal to see if she wants to eat. I bet she does. She likes to eat. And to give you all a chance to see that super strong, sharp beak in action. So we'll let her decide if she's ready to eat it. She's thinking about it. She's checking to make sure you're all watching. That nobody else, no other red-tailed hawks might be somewhere around the area looking to try to steal that food. She's got to make sure everything's nice and safe before she distracts herself with doing any eating. What do you think? Can you eat your food? We'll give her a second. She'll think about that. Red-tailed hawks are really not picky eaters. There she goes. When it comes to food, if they can catch it, a red-tailed hawk will eat it. And so that means practically anything. Today she's enjoying some rabbit. And this is something that red-tailed hawks would definitely eat out in the wild. Those little bunnies that you have hopping around in your front yard, you bet that's a red-tailed hawk meal right there. Rabbits, squirrels, mice, rats, snakes, bats, small dogs, house cats, a dog maybe 10 pounds or less. Those are definitely something that a red-tailed hawk might eat. They could eat snakes. They could eat spiders. They could eat, oh gosh, really just about anything. Now something big, say like a fawn, yeah, that would be a bit too big for a red-tailed hawk. And they're probably not going to go after something small like a worm, not really worth the energy for something so little. So kind of a medium-sized. So you'll find these guys chowing down on pretty much anything. I always laugh because I'm kind of a picky eater and I can get really particular about what food I'm eating, but my husband, if it's food, he'll eat it. And so he's the red-tailed hawk in our family. Now this red-tailed hawk, as I said, she is permanently disabled. 2003, she came into us with a really severe case of West Nile virus. And West Nile virus is something that is naturally occurring in the environment. It's carried and transmitted by mosquitoes. And yes, humans are susceptible to it. We can get West Nile virus from a mosquito bite, but it's not super common, although that's a great reason, of course, to wear bug spray if you're out at night in a place that might have a lot of mosquitoes. But raptors can be really susceptible to it. And so she was bit by a mosquito that transferred that virus to her. And West Nile it's a weird thing. It does really strange and unpredictable things to an individual. One of the most common things that West Nile virus will cause is the brain to swell. And unfortunately, the brain only has so far to go. And since there's limitations on how far the brain can swell, it'll push up against the skull and cause damage to the brain. We're looking a little laggy here. You guys having trouble? Everything looking laggy on your end, or are we catching up? I think we're catching up. Okay. Technology is great when it works the way you want it to, right? So her brain swelled and pressed up against that skull, and then when the swelling receded, it left her with brain damage. And what that brain damage will be different from every single West Nile patient. They'll all have their own different results. In her case, she really kind of forgot that she's a red-tailed hawk. She's no longer afraid of people in the way that she should be for her own survival and safety. She forgot how to hunt. So we put live mice and live rats in an enclosure with her as part of her rehabilitation to see what she would do with them. And she couldn't figure it out. She forgot what she was supposed to do. Which, of course, if she's not able to hunt, well, she's certainly not going to be able to survive in the wild, is she? So She was deemed non-releasable and has been an ambassador with the Rocky Mountain Raptor program since 2003. Over time, West Nile virus has had another effect on her. She is slowly losing her vision. And that's another very common long-term side effect that West Nile virus can cause. And we know that she's losing her vision for a couple of reasons. We watch how she reacts and behaves to things, for one, but we also work with the ophthalmologist at Colorado State University to examine and test the eyes. So they actually come in to our facility, not right now due to COVID, but they have and they will when it's safe to do so again. And they bring all their equipment with the bright lights and all the little lenses and everything, just like when you go to the eye doctor. And easy. They look inside the eyes to see if there's how healthy they are, if there's damage, how the eye reacts to things. And so they can actually test her eyesight. And with the combination of those two things, we're able to determine that she sees quite well during the day, but she does not, thank you dear, does not see well at night. Her night vision has gone. And so we don't go inside her enclosure after dark because it scares her quite a bit because she can't see us and she doesn't know what's there, but she can hear it. And so she will get very defensive in her enclosure if we try to go in when it's dark outside. So we respect that need of hers and don't go into her space when it's dark. Aside from those challenges, where are you going? She's very healthy. She's doing really well. She's a great ambassador to give people a chance to learn about red-tailed hawks. These guys are the most common raptor that you're really going to see around the country, and one of the most common around the world. 3.2 million red-tailed hawks are alive in the world right now. And that's a huge number. These guys are common. They live all across North America, so it doesn't matter what state you're living in. It doesn't matter what kind of habitat you're living in. You have the opportunity to see and share that space with red-tailed hawks. They are quite comfortable around people, so neighborhoods are an excellent place for them to nest and raise their families. I actually have a young red-tailed hawk that's been in my neighborhood for a couple of years. I hear it sometimes when I'm out in my yard, and ever so occasionally I'll see it soaring overhead. It's really cool to get to know that he's there in my neighborhood. I love that. But red-tailed hawks, while they do have that gorgeous brick red colored tail, that really isn't always the best way to identify a red-tailed hawk. It can be, but not always, because they don't always have that red tail. So when they're young, before they're sexually mature, before they reach adulthood, which is 2 years old, a red-tailed hawk will not have a red tail. They will instead, let me grab my prop here, they will instead have a tail that looks like this. Banded gray and black. See the white tips though? That's kind of a good marker. This is a juvenile red-tailed hawk tail compared to the typical adult. Here's a very typical standard adult red-tailed hawk tail. That gorgeous brick red color. So if the bird is not yet an adult, they won't have that red tail. That's kind of a big piece. Sometimes she gets a hold of pieces that are a bit too big, and it takes her a minute to figure it out. She has a little trouble sometimes processing, so she needs a minute to think about it. Can you get that one down? Nope. Let's try again. So I kind of have to help her sometimes to be able to rip and tear. Okay. You have a nibble? I think that other piece is too big. We'll leave that. Bit too big for her to get down. So the tail, while that's a good indicator, isn't always the best way. For example, The Swainson's hawk, which is a similarly sized and shaped raptor, has a tail that looks like this one. It looks almost exactly like the tail of that juvenile red tail, doesn't it? And so the tail may not be the best way for you to identify if you have a red-tailed hawk that you might be observing. Really, the best way to figure it out, if they're sitting still. So say the bird is perched up in a tree, you've got a great view right from the front. What you're going to look at is, now hers is very pale, and it can vary from individual to individual. But if you look between her legs, down low on her belly, do you see some speckling? It's called a belly band. And that's a great marker of a red-tailed hawk. There's low speckling, kind of hip to hip across the belly. Or if you see a red-tailed hawk in flight, you'll see underneath their wing, they have 3 bands of color. A dark patch right here on this leading edge, kind of between the shoulder and the elbow. Fancy name for that is a patagial mark. Then there'll be a band of light and a band of dark. So dark, light, dark, or 3 colors, red-tailed hawk, 3 words in the name of the species. I'm going to see if she's willing to actually show us the underside of her wings. It might be quick, but see if you can spot those 3 bands of color. Whoops. Hopefully you got to see them. Red tails and raptors are fast little creatures. So that's one of the ways, the best ways to identify a red-tailed hawk is with that dark, light, dark colors under the wings. So let's see. Remember, if you have any questions, anything you're curious about or would like to learn, feel free to type those into the chat. We'd love to answer those questions for you. For those of you who might have joined us a little bit later than the start, my name is Jessica, and I am here from the Rocky Mountain Raptor program learning, or sharing, some of my favorite things about your neighborhood, backyard neighborhood raptor, the red-tailed hawk. This individual came to the Rocky Mountain Raptor program in 2003 with a severe case of West Nile virus from a mosquito bite. She did survive that virus, but was left with long-term brain damage and long-term vision loss. That means she cannot go back out into the wild and live on her own. And so she stays with the Rocky Mountain Raptor program and helps us do part of our mission. Where are you going? Easy. Which is to provide education in addition to our rescue and rehabilitation efforts. Now you might have noticed she's kind of an active individual. Red-tailed hawks have a lot of energy. They are actually amazing dancers. So she might do what we call the red-tailed hawk dance. Stomp, 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 flap, 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 turn, turn, turn. That's the red-tailed hawk dance. I know she did it once before. She might do it again. She's kind of thinking about it. And that's just a normal behavior for red-tailed hawks to do. They also do another really great dance, which is kind of like a bullfighter. And they do this bullfighting style dance in only one very specific situation, when they're hunting snakes. Red-tailed hawks, as I mentioned, are not picky eaters, willing to eat anything they can get their talons on. But one of the most amazing things that red-tailed hawks will eat is venomous snakes. And you think, I think that would be a really dangerous prey item to try to go after. But they have a great technique. There she goes, little dancing. They have a great technique for catching those snakes. They do their dances. They spread their wings out and flap them in a manner that draws the attention of the snake so that it goes to strike at the feathers on the wing rather than the body of the bird. So they'll strike the feathers, but there's nothing but feather there. The bird won't be injured by that. And while the snake is distracted, biting at the feathers, the red tail will come from behind, snatch with those talons, grab a hold of that snake, and then as quick as possible, reach down with that hooked curved beak and rip the head off. And of course, all the venomous parts and the bitey parts, that's all in the head, so that's gone. The rest of it makes a great meal. So it's really interesting. I recently learned that, and I thought it was fascinating that some creatures will specifically go after venomous snakes. I mean, almost everything's got a predator of some sort, so it's a really fascinating thing. Now, what's interesting is, of all the years of research, all the years of rehabilitation that the Rocky Mountain Raptor program has done, we haven't seen red-tailed hawks dying from snake bites. Why? That's a really great question. And so the Rocky Mountain Raptor program is actually involved in a research project to look at if there is any kind of anti-venom properties inside red-tailed hawks. So drawing blood samples and contributing that to the research to try to learn more about how these amazing raptors don't suffer death by snake bite. It's wild. I mean, the research is ongoing. We don't have an answer yet, but that's part of what we do, is trying to learn more about these great creatures and all of the uniqueness about them. Raptors, I have been working for the Rocky Mountain Raptor program. Let me do a quick math here. We're coming up on nearly 10 years, and I still find such fascinating new things to learn about them, because there's so much that we're continuing to learn and we have yet to learn. So we're excited to be able to contribute to that research about red-tailed hawks. So red-tailed hawks, as I mentioned, don't get that red tail until they're adult, about 2 years old. And they have that striped gray and banded tail prior to that. For those of you who missed it before, I'm going to bring them back out for you. So, standard red-tailed hawk tail, mostly red, a little black there on the tip and some white. That's pretty typical. Juvenile red-tailed hawks, so not yet ready to breed, banded gray and black. Very similar to the Swainson's hawk, an easily confused species, the red-tails and the Swainson's hawks, because they look so much the same. But that is not the only colors that red-tailed hawks come in. The red-tailed hawk has a total of about 22 different recognized color morphs or variations, which means red-tailed hawks can come in 22 different color variances. So red-tailed hawks look like this, except when they don't. And that's the fun of red-tailed hawks, is they can come in such a variety. Obviously, this is a very standard sort of coloration. There are different subspecies that have super subtle differences. I'm just diving into learning those. They're really subtle, and it's been quite a challenge for me to learn those. One other great marker, if she stays put, for red-tailed hawks, so adult red tail, but again, don't rely on this. If you look on her back, do you see a V shape of lighter colored feathers right here on the back? That's another really great marker. If your red-tailed hawk or suspected red-tailed hawk is sitting perched and you're trying to figure it out, but they won't turn around and face you to see that belly band, that low speckling between the legs, look for this V-shaped lighter feathers on the back. That's another really great field mark for red tails. Can you turn around? There's that dance, that red tail dance. Stomp, 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 flap, flap, flap. I know she's a little out of your frame, but I'm trying to keep her from accidentally damaging her feathers on my face, which not really a fun thing to do. So But of those 22 different morphs, some are a lot lighter than this. They can be very, very pale. Some are incredibly dark, almost black entirely. And then my favorite of the different variations is called a Harlan's. And it can, but not always, look like this. Nothing like what you would think a red-tailed hawk tail would look like. Isn't that remarkable? So much variation. So many different colors. It's one of the things that makes red-tails just so uncommon. Despite their high numbers, despite being found all around the world and in every kind of habitat, despite being one of the best places to begin learning and enjoying raptors, if you're just kind of getting in to learning your raptors or want to bring someone new into sharing a passion or enthusiasm for raptors that you might have, red-tailed hawks are an excellent place to start because they are everywhere and they are so unpredictable in identifying them. And I find it a lot of fun to try to figure out all the little variances that they have. They're pretty remarkable. Now here at the Rocky Mountain Raptor program, easy, easy, easy. Give me a second here. Fist. There you go. Hey, come here. Come here. Fist. Fist. Easy. Oh. There you go. Come here. She got a little nervous about something there. She started dancing and then she lost her balance, which she does have some balance issues with her neurological problems, and went into what's known as a bait. And so that was that flapping where I needed to get her to focus and face the right direction to be able to come back up to my glove. I know it looks awkward. We were kind of a little bit out of frame, so you didn't get a real good view of it, but it's a natural behavior. Sometimes it can be a fight or flight response. Sometimes it can be they've got too much energy and they're just like a kid. I can't sit still anymore. In her case, I think she's new to doing these live streams, so she's a little confused as to why we're just standing here and I'm talking to nobody, because to her, there's nobody here but me. So she got a little confused and a little nervous there, but she's doing okay now. Get a great view, long wingtips, and red tail, and that V shape right back here as well. So, like I said, these guys, great way to begin enjoying raptors. I would take a pretty strong bet that most, if not all of you, have a red-tailed hawk in your neighborhood because they're very tolerant of people, and our neighborhoods can attract a lot of great prey, rabbits and squirrels and house cats and small dogs, for example. We also can provide excellent nesting territory as we plant trees and create nice big mature trees for them to build their nests in. So they're very frequently found in neighborhoods. So it's a great opportunity to get out and see them. I would say dawn and dusk, that's your best time. And really for wildlife across the board, dawn and dusk if you want to go see them. So take some binoculars, take your ears and listen for them. Sometimes that's the best way to find an animal is maybe you don't see it, but you hear it. And red-tailed hawks have a unique cry, one you're probably familiar with but didn't even realize you were. Have you ever watched a TV show or a movie and they show the gorgeous, majestic bald eagle flying across the screen, and along with it you hear, ah! That's not the bald eagle. The bald eagles are actually ridiculously goofy sounding. That cry is the red-tailed hawk. So that's a fun fact you can dazzle people with when you're watching TV or a movie next time and you see that bald eagle and you hear the cry, ah! That's actually the red-tailed hawk, not the bald eagle. So If you look back through our Facebook page, just a little bit earlier this week, we posted a keeper's log on eagles, and our educational bald eagle features in that, making plenty of the traditional eagle. Oh my gosh. It's really goofy sounding for such a majestic bird. It's really goofy sounding. So you can go back and watch that and get a chance to see that up close. So, Lynn, I see you have a question here. Is she a normal size for a mature female? She is. This is a very typical size. She weighs in, easy, easy, wait, 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 dear, you're okay. She weighs in at about 12 to 1,300 grams. So if you figure about 450 grams is a pound, 4, 8, what are we doing? About 3 pounds is how much she weighs, and that's a very standard size. Her wingspan tip to tip would run about 5 feet. So very typical size, very typical coloration. Now, the Rocky Mountain Raptor program, like I said, does care for red-tailed hawks among all of the different types of raptors that we see and treat. If you are enjoying getting to learn about the raptors, to support us being able to bring more to you and to provide care for any injured raptor that might be within our northern Colorado area, as well as this gorgeous red-tailed hawk, visit our website. It's up there in the chat, rmrp.org, to make a donation. And remember to join us here on Facebook Live every Wednesday from 4 to 4:30 to see more of our gorgeous ambassadors and learn more about the raptors we share our world with. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon.